Good morning. Let's bring it back to mental health again, just to go over and make sure that people are aware that there are support mechanisms. So I'll always bring it back to mental health. The focus has always been during the pandemic. Our government's focus has always been apparently on the prevention of hospitalisation and death and serious illness, but the focus has come completely off the mental health impacts that cause serious illness and death and hospitalizations. So just on that, we have to, at the same time as we want to we need to fight, we need to stand up for our rights. We've also got to really be looking after our mental and spiritual well-being. So never forget that there is a spiritual wellspring of power within you. Um, Never forget that through that wellspring you can connect to the divine, and never forget that through the power of your voice and through the power of our connections with people, we can find supports, we can talk to people. If you're feeling alone, if you're feeling like the whole world's against you, like your world isn't the same as it was, which a lot of people reach out, reach out here to me if you like. I'm always up for a chat. You know, if you want to contact me through the comments, and I can always send you my email address. We can have a chat on there. Um, but yeah, so don't feel. Just try your best. You're never alone. That's my message. You're never alone. There's people here to connect with. Yeah, but on the mental health issue itself and on the causes of these mental health impacts, um, so our government has purposely tried to destabilize us, not just physically, but also mentally, spiritually. Spirituality is something that world governments basically try to squash it out. And this happens through the education system. Um, spirituality is it's not talked about openly, and it is in some cases it's really frowned upon to sort of have those spiritual ideals, um, and it's lacking in the community. Um, having that spiritual connection with each other would unite us. Beyond the physical, beyond the mental, it would unite us as souls to something greater and grander than ourselves, and that's scary for the control mechanisms, the systems in place, because if you can connect spiritually with people, if you can connect on a higher level and have a higher degree of understanding of the workings of the universe, then you have no real need for governments. You have no need for that level of government control and direction because you are directed by spirit. Um, so trying to get into touch with those intuitive capacities within us, um, can lead us forth in spirit. And look, we're just going to be, we'll be right with that. Talk to people, talk to your friends, talk to your family, um, tell them how you feel. Really, like to get your feelings out, start keeping a journal. Um, and yeah, just like some of us are going to have to come to peace with our decisions. So, for example, being unvaccinated, being unable to do certain things, we may have to come to peace with that for a while we fight it. Um, we have to be 100% certain ourselves that's what we want to do. And, even I've been on the fence, partially, because so I've got my partner on one hand who's double vaxxed and wants to be able to go to the movies. Got me who's unvaccinated who's saying, well, I can't go to the movies, but what if we hired a movie here or we could go to a drive-in or something like that? Um, and so I question it, and I still question it. I've still questioned it even today, whether or not I should just get it done and then continue the fight afterwards. I just don't want to feel like I've failed, but don't feel that way. So, if you do happen to cave or you give in essentially to the pressures around you. Don't feel like you've failed. You haven't chickened out. It's not a matter of that. And if anyone makes you feel that they're not thinking straight either. We have to do what we have to do, what we feel is right to do, but try to be guided by intuition. Try to be guided by spirit. Um, Listen to the inner voice. And if you're not sure how to get in touch with that inner voice, prayer and meditation. Um, you know, there's an old saying. It's an old mystic saying to inflame thyself with prayer, which just essentially means to hold those thoughts, hold that love and devotion to something greater than yourself, to something beautifully divine inside of you. Flame those, fan those flames. So yeah, so look, meditation and just sitting in that peaceful awareness, sitting in that place of the I am, of the self, in perfect silence and listen. So this doesn't mean that you have to have any particular thoughts, but make sure you listen, you know, pay attention, um, because the little things that come through, little insights, flashes of insight, there's inspirations that will show you the way to walk your truth and walk your path. So I like to always say that it is the path of the heart. So the path of the heart is your truth, your true path. Um, and all paths that don't have a heart lead to death. That's It sounds like a dark saying, but essentially, you know, all those paths that don't have a heart, they lead to hardship, they lead to failure. Um, I mean, there is no essential failure, but they'll lead to obstacles and blockades. Um, but remember that an obstacle or a blockage, it's just another way of redirecting you to that path that has a heart, to your truth, to your true path, towards your purpose. And we have to try to get in tune with that, especially now. Look, this pandemic, Dandemic in Victoria, but this pandemic around the world has really been something that has forced so many of us to really reassess and look inside at solutions. So we should be solution focused. Don't be problem focused. Don't look at everything you can't do, or don't look at um, don't look at all the negatives. Look at what you can do. Look at the positives. Look at solutions. So if we can look at the solutions and we can identify the obstacles that will careen us back onto our purpose and our true path, then we'll be smooth sailing. And I'm not going to say it'll necessarily be easy to get around some of the new laws that are coming through. We've got Dan Andrews and his new pandemic legislation, and this is happening in other places in the world as well. So it's not just Australia, obviously. There's other countries that are also trying to get new permanent pandemic legislation. They're calling it different things, but other countries are standing up. So I think it was Denmark. Like, pretty much they did that pots and pans protest. Huge numbers of people out there following their truth, knowing what's right, standing up for it, and listening to their intuition on it. So with these things, we've got to learn to listen to our intuition. In our country, those things that are those things that are spiritual, those things are a bit that people consider to be airy fairy, mumbo jumbo. The reason that's been bred into you and the reason that's been taught to you is because that is what the system wants you to think. That is not your free thinking soul. That is something that you have been indoctrinated into believing. So you need to start forgetting everything you think you know. And that was one of the first teachings I had in spirituality, was to forget everything you think you know about the universe. That was something that came to me, and it wasn't taught to me by a teacher in the physical. That was something that came to me through my practices from the teachers on sort of higher planes, the masters that they call them, was that forget everything you think you know, and then like you'll be able to relearn everything about the universe, because everything that you have been taught, um, everything you've been taught is a fabrication, an illusion, about the physical world and the limitations of it. Everything that you've been taught is an illusion. So you need to be able to identify the illusory world and be liberated from that, to be able to see that which is real beyond it. And we've got some real opportunities here to move forward in light, in love. Um, but first, we have to relearn about our connection to it. So the first lesson: forget everything you think you know about the universe. My second lesson is a teaching of the Rosicrucians, to be a walking question mark. So everyone, be a walking question mark. Ask questions, question yourself, question everyone else. Question the government, question the rules. Um, this is what they don't want you doing. They don't want the questions asked. That's why they sidestep. That's why they try and find ways of answering questions without answering questions, because they don't want questions asked. So be a walking question mark. Look, just for another short video, look, wake up, look after your mental health, walk your truth, live your truth, listen to your intuition. Love you guys. Take care. Cheers.